Alright, who's in the back? See you guys. Alright, seatbelts.
On a winter Saturday morning in 2003, at a children's football clinic in suburban Melbourne, the notorious gangster Jason Moran is sitting in his family van, chatting with one of his men. In the back seat are 5 children, including Moran's 6-year-old twins. A hired killer steps up to the car and both men are assassinated. The killings are the latest and most brazen in a string of 17 gangland murders over the previous 5 years. They've been carried out on the orders of one of Australia's mass murderers, a pudgy, spoilt suburban upstart with a perpetual smile, a coward who buys his courage by paying others to ambush and kill his enemies. His name, Carl Williams.
Australia's most notorious criminal bandits. Generation after generation, on the wrong side of the wall. Crime Investigation Australia, families of crime.
In the late 1990s, Carl Williams decides he wants a slice of the millions being made from party drugs in Melbourne. His challenge soon leads to open warfare with the ruthless Moran family who control the trade, and Carl becomes one of Australia's worst mass murderers.
The Morans ruled by fear, bashing, extortion, all that sort of thing, bluff. Lewis had the boys, taught the boys from an early age.
Jason, his father Lewis, and his half-brother Mark are regarded in Melbourne as criminal royalty. They operate a vast illegal drugs empire and are estimated to have amassed a $100 million fortune.
If they owe you money and they don't pay, you bash them. If they don't pay, you bash them again until you get paid, or you put them down as a lost cause. You cripple them, you maim them. You get your money at all costs.
They felt unassailable in the mid-90s because they had a massive slice of the party drug scene. They were also accepted into the racing set. You could see them at the Young Members Bar, you know, at Flemington, you know, during the Spring Racing Carnival. They were supplying the cocaine to celebrities.
The Morans first begin dealing with Carl Williams when he sells them bulk chemical ingredients to make party drugs.
There's this myth that Carl had worked for them as a driver or some sort of associate. That's completely false.
The Morans thought of Carl Williams as a bit of a lightweight, and they thought, like they thought of many people, that they could bully him.
Carl was a lad at the start. And then it suddenly dawned on everyone, and I think probably me first, that Carl had balls.
He doesn't bow to people, Carl. He treats people how they treat him, but he won't be bossed by people. He doesn't like people bossing people.
Most underworld drug barons deal with each other, but doing business with Carl Williams will prove to be the Morans' biggest mistake. They're taken in by his plump body and his friendly smile, and they fail to see him as a serious rival.
Everybody, the Morans, all the gangsters thought that Williams was a bit of a joke. He was a flabby, chubby kid, but he was a smiling assassin.
A ready laugh, cheerful, looked like he'd be, you know, a good bloke on a building site. However, the difference between him and good blokes on the building site was that he was making $100,000 a month from drugs.
He didn't have enough balls to shoot anybody. Carl couldn't shoot anybody to save his life. But he had the balls to see where the trouble was coming from.
Carl Williams is the second of 2 sons born to George and Barbara Williams, and he's brought up in Broadmeadows, a crime-ridden, working-class suburb on Melbourne's northern fringe.
Well, in those days, the detectives often found themselves investigating burglaries, car fires, almost on a daily basis, serious assaults, sex crimes, suicides, drug overdoses, pretty well everything that you'd get in that sort of area.
George works as a labourer and an occasional debt collector, and there are few luxuries in Carl's childhood.
He was interested in money from a very early age. That was certainly his guiding preoccupation as a kid.
Carl's very close to his mother and idolises his older brother Shane, who's a heroin addict and a thief.
I think Barbara mummied Carl a bit, I really do. I think that she thought Shane was a big boy and Shane would be all right. And from what I understand, even as children, Shane was very close to George, you know, like they go to footy together and whatever, whereas Carl was a mummy's boy. He really was. And he still would be now.
Carl retains his baby-faced features as he grows into a lazy and inept teenager, avoiding work and learning the ways of petty crime from his brother.
He'd be the lookout man as Shane was doing various thefts and burglaries and so forth, and he was picked up by the police a couple of times, and during that, in fact, there was one time where the police hit him with a phone book so they could extract information about Shane, and Carl burst into tears and told his mum that the police had beaten him with a phone book.
Carl's world is shattered when Shane dies from a heroin overdose in 1997.
Shane didn't want to be saved. In the finish, Shane said, I don't want to live here anymore, Mum.
I think when Shane died, I don't think any of them coped really well. You know, they sort of put on a brave face, but you could see it. You could see it in all of them, that it did have an effect on all of them. And I think especially Carl, because him and Shane were so close.
But even though heroin has killed his beloved brother, Carl decides to set up a major drug dealing operation. He even enlists the help of his father George, and it's not long before they're doing business with the Morans.
Well, for every amount of drugs made, bought from overseas, etc., one person can't sell them on his own. He sells, it goes down the chain.
Carl begins developing his own cheap recipe for party drugs and convinces a friend to test some.
And it sent him into this sort of spasm and epileptic fits and all this kind of stuff, and Carl went, a bit too strong, that one. Go back to the drawing board. So they finally got it right.
Around this time, Carl begins a serious relationship with Roberta Masica, the woman who'd become his wife.
Roberta Williams is colourful, loud, boisterous. She can be good fun. She's got a volatile temper. She had a shocking upbringing. She was the victim of violence both from her mother and stepfather. She was out of home by 11. She was a ward of the state.
They're soon in a serious relationship, and it's not long before she's pregnant.
He recognised that she was having a hard time and I guess provided a shoulder to cry on and an ear to listen to her problems.
Roberta will say she didn't know much about what Carl was doing. Police disagree.
We're just an everyday suburban family who get up every morning, take our children to school and cook dinner of a night.
Obviously there were bugs in Carl and Roberta's house, and the police who listened to it said it was like listening to the Jerry Springer show about 24 hours a day.
Carl's new party drug generates huge profits, and he and Roberta spend lavishly, living the high life. The Morans try to intimidate him. They even have their men give him a pistol whipping. Things get worse when fire destroys a drug lab that the Morans are operating with Carl, and valuable chemicals disappear.
This set up the suspicion. The Morans believed that Carl had been involved in this whole thing, and he would blithely say, no, mate, no, I'm not involved in that, no way. But apparently he was.
The hostilities continue to fester and will soon become a gangland war that will leave a trail of bodies across Melbourne.
They were having a dispute over several issues. One was that Carl was undercutting them on the price of drugs. 2, there was a dispute over the ownership of a pill press. 3, they weren't happy that he'd married Roberta, who'd previously been married to a good friend of theirs. And 4, there was a dispute over a debt.
The confrontation comes to a head at a meeting in the corner of a deserted suburban park, far from police surveillance microphones.
G'day, Mark. Hey, Jason.
The Morans argue furiously with Carl over money and drugs.
No, you got it all wrong. We're losing thousands of dollars. Pill press, shouldn't even get it over and done with. Come on.
I'm not killing him.
No, Jason! All right.
The Morans walk away laughing and suggest he gets the bullet removed from his stomach and sent back to them. The Morans will soon be getting bullets returned, and with interest, and they'll be brand new. Carl is later treated in hospital and the bullets removed.
At the time that he was shot, we weren't aware that it was the Moran or a couple of the Moran families that actually did that.
But the Morans have underestimated Carl Williams. Instead of being intimidated, he unleashes a wave of revenge shootings. The first victim will be Mark Moran.
No, Jason!
Carl Williams has been shot by Jason Moran as a warning not to interfere with the Moran drug business. But he's not intimidated. And he's soon back, busily making party pills with his father George, when police suddenly stumble upon their drug lab.
Police from Broadmeadows were doing a fairly straightforward average crime investigation, and they went to a housing commission property in Broadmeadows.
On their arrival, I can recall one of them actually saying he heard what he thought was a washing machine coming from an upstairs room.
And when they went in, there was the pill press working. And when they went upstairs, they found both George and Carl Williams hiding.
They were both covered in powder. The whole premises was covered in powder. There was bags of drugs and piles of pills laying around all over the place. So it was a full-on amphetamines manufacturing facility.
George had been involved in it for some time, you know. People speculate about George's final role in the family business, but he was there, make no mistake.
To this day, the police deny that they were tipped off by the Morans.
If there was any indication whatsoever to me that there was a man armed with a 9mm semi-automatic pistol with a considerable amount of drugs and a pill press in a flat in Fur-Close, Broadmeadows, I wouldn't have sent 3 detectives around there armed with a warrant regarding a fraud matter. They were there on a completely unrelated inquiry. In police parlance, this was just good luck. Sealed off the entire area as a crime scene, called in the forensic science people, called in the drug squad to assist, because obviously this is quite a significant catch, and the rest is really history, isn't it?
Carl and his father are arrested and they face lengthy jail sentences, but their trials delayed by a drug squad corruption scandal.
When it came time to put George and Carl on trial, the corruption probes had all the notes from the detectives who'd been doing, so it delayed everything.
These drug squad detectives were to be witnesses in a number of cases, including Carl Williams. Therefore, Carl Williams' case could not go ahead until the drug squad charges were first dealt with.
So suddenly they'd had 3 or 4 more years of liberty to prosper, to get square with enemies and so forth.
Carl and George Williams are released on bail and they quickly resume their lucrative trade in defiance of the Morans.
Shortly after that, George had been down at a pub in Richmond. Jason Moran had turned up on the scene and said, you know, just tell Carl that next time I'm going to kill him.
As Carl sees it, he has 2 choices: give in to the Morans and get out of the drug trade, or strike first. It's the dawn of the 21st century when he takes the fateful decision to make the first move. Carl's target is Mark Moran. It's 6 months since Jason shot him, and Carl can still hear Mark Moran yelling, "Kill him!" The order to shoot to kill is typical behaviour for Mark Moran, who has a formidable reputation as a tough and merciless gangster.
Carl feared Mark Moran. He was smarter than Jason, he was more ruthless, and he did feel that eventually Mark might get him. So it was decided, I believe, to make a preemptive strike on Mark, and also to show the Morans that Carl would not take this lying down, that he would take out their most brilliant strategist, their leading businessman, if you like, in the drug world, and there's nothing they could do about it.
Mark Moran lives with his family in a luxury home in the Melbourne suburb of Aberfeldy.
Nice two-storey house, he'd done well, he had his kids there. He didn't think there was any threats to his life whatsoever. He thought that life was great, you know. He dealt with Carl Williams, life was good, nothing would happen.
In June 2000, Mark is assassinated outside his home.
And on this particular night, the phone rang and he decided to go out. His wife said, "Don't go," but he went outside. Now, stupidly, instead of, say, parking his car near security lights or closed-circuit cameras, he parked it outside in the street.
At first, neither the police nor the Moran gang know who to blame for Mark's execution. Everyone suspects it's an underworld payback because Mark is known to have murdered several mafia leaders.
The Morans had a council of war that night. A group of 7 people got together and they started going through their enemies, and they did a list of the enemies who could have killed Mark. Carl was on that list, but he was the last name.
And when Mark got shot, it was one of total bewilderment. In hindsight, I suppose, it wasn't very hard to work out that who was behind it all, because there was a clue here, a clue there, a phone call there, an explanation there, etc., etc. But I don't think anybody in the camp knew how financially flush Carl had become by then.
And Carl's always denied that, but you know, whoever did it, Mark was dead, and there was no doubt that it was the Williams crew that was responsible.
After extensive underworld inquiries, the Morans decide that Carl is behind Mark's murder and war is declared.
And Jason immediately swore vengeance. He was in jail at the time and came out of jail for his brother's funeral.
On the day of Mark Moran's funeral, shots are fired outside Carl and Roberta's home. Carl Williams and Jason Moran are now laying elaborate plans to kill each other.
Carl Williams had decided that he really wanted to kill Jason Moran as a payback for shooting him, and also because he feared that if he didn't do it, they'd eventually finish the job on him. But in a ridiculous set of circumstances, when Carl Williams was finally bailed on the drug trafficking matters, within 3 days Jason Moran was convicted of an assault matter in King Street. So he went to jail. So they sort of swapped sides, if you like. Carl was out, Jason was in, so he couldn't get him.
There were multiple plots that Carl laid in order to get Jason. Meanwhile, Jason was plotting to get Carl.
One of Jason's plots is to order his toughest henchman, a merciless killer named Benji Benjamin, to befriend Carl and then to murder him.
Benji was now getting close to Carl. He was actually spending time with him, and at the same time as he had a contract to kill Carl Williams. So it was this bizarre gangster drama being played out.
But Carl's charm wins Benji over to the Williams side, and they become best friends. With Benji's defection, Lewis and Jason Moran decide to replace him. 2 Sydney hitmen are contracted to kill Carl, at the christening of his new baby daughter, Dakota. Police get wind of the plan, and to avoid a bloodbath, they rearrest Carl on drug trafficking charges, and he's held in prison for the next 14 months.
Just stay away from people like that, you know what I mean? Like,
Benji, meanwhile, continues his professional career as a hitman, murdering Victor Pierce, a notoriously violent drug dealer and cop killer.
Victor Pierce's killers certainly appeared untroubled about carrying out what amounted to a public execution.
As soon as Carl's released in the middle of 2002, he resumes his plan to kill Jason Moran. It takes him almost a year to achieve his goal, but in the meantime, he has other scores to settle. Nick Radev, a man known as the Russian, is becoming a serious competitor in Carl's party drug trade.
Nikolai Radev was a very serious villain here in Melbourne. He'd been involved in all kinds of things, a very extremely violent man.
As usual, Carl won't do his own dirty work, and instead, one of Carl's hitmen kills the Russian.
Pumped him full of holes, basically. He then grabbed another gun and shot him a few more times to make sure he was dead, and that was the end of Radev. So the cycle had really begun now.
Carl Williams is now embroiled in a game of kill or be killed. Two of Carl's rivals have died, and Carl's target now is Jason Moran, the man who shot him in the belly 3 years earlier.
no, Jason!
It's 3 years since Carl is shot by Jason Moran. And 2.5 years since the revenge killing of Jason's brother Mark. Jason knows that Carl has put a contract out on his life, and he's living in fear.
Jason was on guard at this stage. He was travelling all the time with a gun. He was changing cars. He wasn't staying at home very much. He was elusive and hard to get. But information came that every Saturday morning, Jason would take his kids down to the Auskick clinic.
They tracked him to the Cross Keys Oval. They realised he would go there every Saturday. And on this particular Saturday, the runner and a fellow named the driver were waiting.
Jason feels quite safe at the children's football game. He's sitting in the driver's seat of a family minivan with 5 youngsters in the back and his henchman, Pat Barbaro, sitting beside him. Suddenly, a man appears at the driver's side window and fires a shotgun at Jason's head. He then pulls out a pistol and shoots Barbaro before running off. Carl has a night out on the town with Roberta to celebrate Jason's death.
Roberta says she really didn't know what Carl was doing. When Jason was killed, she was picked up on a telephone intercept saying that she couldn't wait to party that night. So she actively hated the Morans.
By this time, Carl's party drug business is booming, and his main interest now is staying alive. Next on his hit list is a drug dealer who owes him $900,000 and can't pay. Carl fears the dealer, Willie Thompson, is planning to kill him in order to clear the debt. So Thompson is brazenly murdered in a crowded street.
He was coming out of a gym in Warrigal Road, Chadstone, about to get in his car. There's apparently a theory that someone in the gym called the killers and said he's coming out now. He was positioned. So as he got in his car, 2 cars pull up, boxed him in, leapt out, shot him multiple times and killed him.
In the shooting of Willie Thompson, one of the bullets passes through a nearby bookshop and lodges in a wall, narrowly missing horrified bystanders. So far, the public has watched this war with fascination, and many police have been apathetic, to say the least, at the spectacle of criminals killing other criminals. But shooting around a children's football clinic and in a crowded street means everyone is now at risk.
The public outcry was enormous. Here was a situation where this was no longer just a self-cleaning oven, as the police like to call it, an oven that just gets so super hot and just burns up everything in it, and there's nothing to worry about. The police just stand by and put the toe tags on the victims and move on with life.
The Police Commissioner Christine Nixon establishes a special task force of 30 detectives to investigate the gangland killings. It's called Task Force Piranha. What Carl does next could have come straight out of a movie. Carl's people spread rumours that Willie Thompson's been murdered by hitman Michael Marshall.
This now created suspicion amongst Thompson's friends about Marshall, and it was suggested that someone put up a large amount of money for Marshall to be killed, and Williams took up the contract, even though he knew his men had been responsible for killing Thompson.
So Carl and his hitmen accept payment to take revenge on a murder that they themselves have committed. Carl's hitmen carry out the contract and shoot Michael Marshall outside his own home.
And shoots him with a .45, kills him right in front of his son, for nothing. To really cover up what Williams had apparently done in killing Willie Thompson, that was all. Just a bit of housekeeping.
Carl is now convinced that a man named Mark Moran, a loyal lieutenant of the dead gangster Nick the Russian Radev, is planning revenge. And so Carl again hires hitmen. He orders them to torture Moran to get him to reveal where the Russian has stored his drugs and cash.
They lured him to a house in Layla and took him into a garage there and tied him to a chair, tortured him with a soldering iron, with cigarettes, with baseball bats, and you name it. And he didn't reveal, apparently, where the drugs were or anything, and he died.
Malia's body is incinerated and it's dumped in a wheelie bin.
So again, it was one of those grisly moments that just shocked everyone and shocked the nice people of Melbourne to think this was going on in their suburbs.
But Carl doesn't care. He's about to order more cowardly murders, and more blood will flow on suburban streets. With police pressure intensifying, the gangland war is now causing disruption to other criminal businesses, and the ruthless old guard of Melbourne's underworld is about to get involved. With people being murdered on the crowded streets of Melbourne, police are desperate to put a stop to the bloodbath. They arrest Carl Williams for allegedly planning to murder a task force detective.
Telling the story, he didn't look too swaggery and too brave when they got him and rolled him on the grass, I think on a median strip, and cuffed him. They said he was blubbering like a child and peed himself.
The police evidence in the case against Carl is flimsy, and he's released on bail.
Carl Williams would leave court like he was on a game show. I mean, he would swagger. He would swagger. They'd be out there.
And I'd like to get on with my life, that's all.
Can I ask you where to from here?
Where to from here? Something to eat and something to drink, that's all.
Carl now thinks that he's the king of Melbourne, and he stages a lavish $200,000 party at the giant Crown Casino to celebrate his daughter's christening.
Like some Godfather sort of function, with the bassinet being filled with, showered with money. There's $100 notes filling the bassinet of this baby. It was like some grotesquerie out of a Hollywood movie. And I think they started living that sort of life.
By that stage, he'd become a public figure. And by that stage, any amount of reporters had his number. And he thoroughly enjoyed the notoriety. We had the ridiculous situation at one stage where Carl Williams was holding the press conferences and the police were saying no comment.
It's all police corruption, which is corruption from everywhere in the police force. I never ever made a threat to kill anybody, and I've never ever killed it. I've never had nothing to do with no violence. I've never been caught with no guns. I've never owned anything like that.
Are you saying you're a clean skin?
Yeah, I'm telling you I don't get involved in anything.
How do you make your money?
I don't have. What do you mean? This isn't about how do I make.
No, I'm asking you a question. How do you survive?
Do not sell drugs. This is Victorian police corruption.
Hang on. What? Mr. Williams, they haven't come looking for Derrida Hinch. They haven't come looking for Derrida Hinch. They're looking for Carl Williams.
My things will be sorted out during court, and that's when they'll be sorted out.
Okay.
Thanks very much, Darren.
They haven't come looking for Derrida Hinch. I spoke several times on the phone to him. I've had other phone calls. One fight we had on the phone, he hung up on me and then called back and said the line had dropped out. It was quite funny.
Carl Williams' next target is the leader of the old guard of Melbourne's underworld, who are known as the Carlton crew.
The Carlton crew was said to be criminals of an Italian origin. That's not exactly true. Basically, they were the people who made their start out of illegal gambling, SP bookmaking, 2-up, which tended to be around Carlton.
Carl gets word that the Carlton crew leader, Graham the Monster Kinebra, is meeting with the Morans. To Carl, it looks like a conspiracy, and so Benji Benjamin and one other lie in wait outside Kinebra's suburban home in Kew.
So he drove back to his house in this December evening in 2003, parked his car, got out, and there'd been two men sitting in a Ford Falcon across the street, and they came out and opened fire on him.
Benji Benjamin's execution of the old gangster Graham Kinebra takes the gangland war to a whole new level.
No one's ever been charged over that, although Carl Williams was considered a person of interest in perhaps organising that.
These people, Carl Williams' team, wanted to be known as the toughest team in town. They wanted to be known as the mob that no one would mess with. And killing Graham Kinebra was a massive step.
With Kinebra's murder, the Moran patriarch Lewis has now lost 2 sons and his best friend.
Real tears. Real tears. Tears for the loss of his money, tears for the loss of his mate, tears for whatever reason, but they were real tears. And he said to me, "I've got no one else."
Throughout the war, Roberta remains close to Carl, helping him with his drug dealing and even serving a short prison term.
She's done time for drug offences. She always invokes her children and how she wants to go clean, go straight for the sake of her children, where she, Carl, Vietnam, the Morans, none of them gave a damn about anybody else's children. I mean, they made a fortune, lived the luxury lifestyle by making and selling drugs to other people's kids.
Carl Williams and Benji Benjamin decide, for their own safety, to move into a luxury penthouse in the centre of Melbourne. Roberta, who's had enough of Carl's philandering, moves into her own apartment in the same building. But they still see each other frequently, and Roberta has also formed a close friendship with Benji. She's apparently unaware that Benji's string of murders means, like Carl, he has enemies all over town and is living on borrowed time.
And when the police went to him at one stage and tried to get him to cooperate, they said, "You know you're going to die if you keep going this way." He said, "Yes, I know. And I've already told my parents not to cooperate with you when I'm killed."
Benji suspects the killing of Graham Kinebra has probably made him another powerful enemy, the Carlton crew wheeler dealer, Mick Gatto.
Graham was like a father figure to Gatto, and that became intensely personal.
Mick Gatto makes big money from his reputation as a mediator, settling big business disputes for high fees.
Gatto is charming. He's a master networker. His contact book, or the numbers in his mobile phone, would be very, very interesting. He's a person who doesn't get angry quickly, and a person whose name in certain circles instantly brings respect, in other circles fear.
He goes off with a couple of his beer-bellied heavies to sort things out and talk sense to people. This man is a thug and a standover man. Mick Gatto called me after I'd criticised him over this.
It's ratbags like you that sort of put me in the limelight, where I want to be left alone and mind my own business and get on with my life, but I can't because I've got maggots like you drive me mad.
Mick Gatto's friends warn him that he's Carl and Benji's next target.
He was being told by other people, there's a contract out there on your life, apparently $400,000, the biggest contract of the whole war to date.
Benji.
Hey, Mick. Tell me, mate.
Thanks for coming.
No worries.
You're looking good.
In April
mate.
2004, Mick Gatto invites Benji to a meeting at his hangout. It's a restaurant in Carlton. After Gatto meets Benji, the two walk to the back of the restaurant for a more private talk.
I have to sort out this Carl Williams business.
Oh, Jesus, Mick, don't start with that
What, his puppet now, are you?
I'm not his puppet, it's just good business, mate.
He's no good.
You haven't even sat down with
Will
him.
be consequences. Stop running with him. Stop running.
Andrew Veneman left the Melbourne Magistrates Court with alleged drug trafficker and close friend Carl Williams earlier today, but hours later the man known as Benji was dead.
Carl hears the news of Benji's death, and he and Roberta rush to the scene, where they're besieged by the media.
Carl, have you got anything to say about the shooting?
I don't know nothing about it. This is harassment. Get out of here.
Why are you running, mate? If you've got nothing to say, you've got nothing to do with it. Don't run away.
Go on, listen, you're like fucking vultures. Get out of here. Someone's just been shot.
You were seen coming out of the Magistrates Court today with Andrew Veneman, and now it's believed that he's been shot. What have you got to say about that?
I did have one phone call with Andrew just hours before he died, which kind of often makes me think, what was it about? When he called me and said, happy birthday. And we would always say, I love you to each other, or it was just a friend thing, all of us said it. And Andrew goes, no, I really love you. And I said, yeah, I know, Andrew, I really love you too. And he goes, no, I really love you. So I've often thought about that last word that come from his mouth to me on that last day with that phone call and think, where was it going?
Mick Gatto is arrested and charged with Benji's murder. But since Benji's gun is used in the killing, Gatto pleads self-defense, and eventually he's acquitted. Benji's murder sends Carl into a blind rage, and he immediately lays plans for a dramatic and very public revenge attack on Lewis Moran. Carl Williams has been directing an underworld war in Melbourne, but his most lethal weapon, the hitman Benji Benjamin, is now dead.
In my discussions with him at that time, I sensed the first inkling of fear in him.
But it's soon clear he intends to avenge Benji's murder, and his target is the old patriarch Lewis Moran.
So it was suggested that he in fact engaged two hitmen to kill Lewis Moran in the Brunswick Club. He knew that Lewis would always be in the Brunswick Club because Lewis had given up, at this time. He'd lost everyone that was close to him.
One who stays by Lewis Moran's side is his long-term bodyguard, Bert Rout.
Night after night, Carl would be on the phone to Lewis. I'm coming to get you, you bastard. We're coming to get you tonight. Lewis would say, go and get effed. We wouldn't back down. We wouldn't change our routine for some young punk.
Lewis Moran tried to put a contract out on Carl, but was only offering about $50,000 when Carl was offering $100,000 and others in that area were offering up to $300,000.
We had a terrible argument at the Brunswick Club. I said, Lewis, are you effing mad? Are you out of your mind?
It's just a matter of time before Carl's men strike.
We were both walking dead men. It was inevitable that someone would have a crack at us. The first I knew, I heard the clump, clump, clump of running feet towards us.
Shit!
No! No!
As gangland executions go, this was very public. Moran was killed instantly. His friend is critical.
It's like a bloody freight train. Like a freight train hitting me. And it didn't hurt. There was no pain at all. None at all. But the thoughts that go through your mind, I couldn't understand why my arm was swinging in all directions and around and around. It was hanging on by some tendons and muscles and skin.
It's almost surreal what's happening here. It is beyond comprehension.
Lewis Moran's audacious public execution stirs a fresh wave of outrage.
It was senseless, and I think the police then really felt they'd lost control, that there was no way, no one was helping them, people were being shot left, right and centre. There was no end to this, it seemed.
No, not in the slightest do I miss Lewis, and you can take this, put this on your film. Not in the slightest do I miss Lewis. Not for one moment. And that I can swear on my grandchildren's life. Not for one moment do I miss Lewis. I miss Patty. I miss Mark. I regret some of the other victims in this feud, this dispute, which in 100 years' time will be a blip in a history book, a line in a history book, a blip on a computer. I don't miss Lewis, not for one moment.
Carl's paranoia knew no bounds at this stage. He regarded anyone remaining of the Carlton crew or the Moran set as a potential target or a potential threat to him.
Piranha Task Force scores a sensational breakthrough. They receive intelligence that Carl Williams has hired 2 shooters to murder the Carlton crew's lawyer, Mario Condello.
The police had a listening device in a particular car where they heard 2 men talking about killing Mario Condello. So they secreted him away to protect him, and they started to set up a surveillance operation. On the morning that they finally were to do it, there was an extraordinary number of police in the area waiting for their moment. Those 2 men were charged, and ultimately Carl was grabbed and charged.
So that was finally, after 7 years, 6-7 years of this going on, finally Williams was in custody for a murder, for an attempted murder in this case. So finally his run was over.
The following week, Mick Gatto is acquitted of Benji's murder. Task Force Piranha detectives continue gathering evidence against Carl for other murders. They score a major breakthrough when the 2 hitmen they arrest for the Michael Marshall murder suddenly agree to roll over and give evidence against their boss. Carl is convicted of the Marshall murder and he's jailed for 21 years. Carl's downfall comes from not paying his hitmen their promised fees.
For example, with the runner, he promised $100,000 to kill Jason Moran, and when the runner did it, Carl Williams turned up, opened his jacket and produced $2,500, and that's all he paid him, which was fairly stupid because ultimately the runner became a star witness for the police.
With detectives preparing to charge him with more murders, Carl seeks a deal. The Director of Public Prosecutions agrees to negotiate, even though police believe Carl Williams is responsible for at least 10 murders.
So when Carl finally decided to plead guilty, he was in court by himself, and George and Barbara Williams were allowed in to see him. And Barbara pleaded with him not to plead guilty on the 3 counts of murder, saying we're going to fight it.
But in the end, Carl pleads guilty to the murders of Jason Moran, Lewis Moran and Mark Moran.
And if he had not pleaded guilty, he would have not been able to get a discount, which meant he would have been sentenced to life with no minimum, and he would have been destined to die in jail.
But if Carl Williams thinks his guilty plea will get him a lighter minimum sentence, he's in for a shock.
Judge Betty King lined him up, and she didn't miss him. You know, she said, you know, people think that you're a hero in the community. You've been lionised in interviews, and people think that, you know, you're some sort of hero. You know, she said, no, you're just a killer. You're a cowardly killer as well, one that actually gets other people to do your dirty work for you. You know.
Carl Williams is sentenced to a minimum 35 years in jail, and he'll be aged 72 when he's released.
And the pennies are already dropped with Carl, that what he did was a total waste of other people's lives and his life. And he's quite a sad and sorry person who would do anything to get his sentence changed.
He regrets that his last 10 years of his life's been a waste. He said that a couple of weeks ago. He said, I wish I could turn the clock back, Mum.
6 months later, Justice King sentences Carl's father, George, to 4.5 years for drug trafficking. A year later, Carl's mother, Barbara, kills herself.
Barbara was shattered when Carl was put inside, and while everybody else carried on about him being a gangster and all this sort of glamorising, Barbara was broken-hearted. And in 2008, she took her own life. She lived basically as a recluse. She had the shutters down on her house. Her neighbours didn't often see her. And broken-hearted, she just said to somebody, I just want to go to sleep and never wake up. And she took some champagne and some sleeping pills and took her own life.
My first reaction was Dakota, because I knew how much Barbara loved Dakota, and I knew how much Dakota loved Barbara. And I suppose I looked at it and thought, well, that's Dakota's stability in her life. I remember when it came on the TV and I looked up to the sky and I said to Shane, oh well, your mum's with you now. And that's sort of how I looked at it. Carl's in jail, George is getting older, Dakota's going to have nobody. And that's the way I look at it. I feel sorry for all the children involved in all of this. I really do, I feel sorry for the whole lot of them. They didn't ask for it, you know, and they're all of the families that all of this is involved have all been devastated by drugs and by greed, for no good reason, because in the end they've got nothing to show for it. It doesn't make them any happier, and half of them are dead. So how is that any good?
You know, you may think you have a short life of being able to wear all this bling and all these gold chains and have all the hookers you want and all the beer you want and all the parties you want, but you end up dead.
So there, he lost his brother to drugs, he'd lost his liberty to drugs, he'd lost his mother because of the gangland war over drugs. So what was all this for? It just doesn't seem to make any sense. It was an irrational thing driven by fear, you know?
In fact, the public view was, well, who cares, they're only killing their own. My view is, if they're only killing their own now, how long before they're killing you or killing someone else? Or is that good? Is that the sort of society we want to live in? It's not the society I want to live in. I don't want to live in a society where people get gunned down because they're standing at the bar of the Brunswick Club.
Carl Williams says, I won the war. That's not true. Piranha Task Force won the war.
I'll be 100 when Carl gets out of jail. And I hope to Christ I can be standing there outside the jail and blow his head right off. And I hope he's got a television when he sees this.
Williams was fatally bashed by a fellow inmate in Barwon Prison yesterday.
The other prisoners came up from behind, struck him on the head a number of times.
The puzzle is how anyone got near enough to him to carry out the attack.
It may have been a random attack, but it may have been something more sinister.
Bert Rout will never get his revenge. On April 19th, 2010, Carl Williams died from a heart attack after suffering traumatic injuries caused by a brutal bashing by a fellow inmate at Victoria's Barwon Prison. The prisoner, who can't be named for legal reasons, was charged with his murder.
Obviously, a man like Carl Williams has a lot of enemies.